Welcome to another edition of Bet with Bobano, Monday, April the 8th. Ian Cameron and Connor Mack in with us, ready to break down this Monday slate, which has baseball, a full MLB card, and, of course, the end of the college basketball season tonight, the national championship game, Purdue against UConn. And both of us will be participants in the Pub Sports Radio college basketball national championship game live stream tonight, starting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Looking forward to being part of that. It's special. It's the final game of the season, championship on the line, hoping for a great game, hoping to cash a few winners as well, C-Mac. So looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait for tonight. Hopefully we got a good basketball game. Everyone thought, these were the two teams for the most part. Ended up that way, especially when it got down, I'd say, to the Elite Eight, Final Four. So I love it. And also, too, we're going to talk about it. I haven't dug into any real props in the game, so I still have to do that today.
Yeah, there's some of that I have in mind for the game. I might mention a couple when we talk about it. I want to save a couple, though, for the stream later because I'll be on. I'm sure we'll be talking about all our – gives you incentive to tune in. That's the way I see it with that. But, yeah, looking forward, no question about it, to this game here tonight for sure. MLB, and there's two really good hockey games, too, the NHL card. We'll let Connor Mack give his thoughts on the two NHL games as well taking place tonight if he's got any strong opinions on them from a betting perspective. But we'll start with the Diamond. Major League Baseball, and we will begin with a game that I guess it's going to start in about an hour from now. The Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians. We've got Banks and Tristan McKenzie, your starting pitchers here. The Guardians, a big favorite, minus 260, home favorite, 8.5 the total here in this game. Tanner Banks, the lefty, getting the nod here for the Chicago White Sox. We'll see how he fares. This is a guy that did pitch 3 times as a starter last year, 2.67 ERA. We'll see how he fares here in a spot start duty here for the White Sox. We know this is not a great starting rotation by any stretch of the imagination. The highlight has been that young kid, Garrett Crochet, who has done a really nice job for them. And I was able to get a White Sox first 5 winner yesterday backing Crochet against Kansas City. And that's how you got to back the White Sox now, because their bullpen is just an absolute disaster. And sure enough, the bullpen blows that game against the Royals yesterday, but they did have the lead after the first 5. But I don't know if I'm what to expect here from Tanner Banks in this matchup. Cleveland's gotten off to a great start, 7-2 this season. They've really done it with pitching. Their offense has been pretty good, too, but mostly it's been their pitching. I mean, they've given up 2 runs or less in 4 straight victories, the last 2 games of the Seattle series, and then a sweep of the Minnesota Twins over the weekend. So it's been a nice run for Cleveland. Tristan McKenzie's a guy I want to back, but the problem is, I want to see if he continues to round his way into form. He made that first start against Seattle, and he didn't look sharp. Gave up 5 runs, 4 hits, 3.1 innings. So I think in time I'm going to be looking for spots to back him because I think he's got a good arm. He's got electric stuff, but he's had some injuries. He's had some setbacks. He didn't look great coming back after the long layoff against Seattle. So I'm not really excited to lay this kind of a number with Tristan McKenzie. But long term, I'm looking to back him. I'm passing personally on this game. Connor, anything here for you?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the Tristan McKenzie watch. The guy's very electric, had a pretty good 22 season, and then last year was just marred. He didn't have much. I think he only had, 4 or 5 starts, right around there. Comebacks this year, first start, and he gets shelled. So I want to wait there. I think if you bet this game, like you mentioned, the White Sox, I just don't want any part of them. You mentioned the bullpen's very bad. Look at them first 5. The Guardians, though, how long it'll last, Bobano, are the bats.
Yes.
They've been swinging it, and I think they could get it here today. If you don't mind the run line, because the price is big, that's a problem here, even with the Guardians, right around 250, whatever they are. It's just a really big number. But you got to think Banks, he won't be in there that long. And then if Schuster comes in, like they're saying, as the primary, he's pretty awful. I mean, already got shelled. They sent him back down, brought him back up. It's going to take him time before he gets any good. So if you don't mind the juice, I think you go with the Guardians. I don't love to do it. Their team total. I haven't bet it, but that was my Guardian team total, 4.5. It's right around minus 130. I think you look that way in this one.
I agree. The only concern is this so it would be so typical of Cleveland coming, especially
Yes.
with them coming back home off a long road trip to start the season.
Oh yeah.
This is their home opener tonight at Progressive Field. It'd be off a road trip. I worry that the bats go dead. I've done that. I've fallen into this trap before. You know, long road trip. You just aren't seeing it as well at the plate. You're swinging out of your shoes. You're not as patient. You're a little tired, a little jet lagged, but they should be able to get to 5 runs against Banks and this horrible bullpen, but the spot does worry me a little bit for that. And I also think we rest a little bit against Cleveland, but we'll see if they can keep it up. All right, next up, we've got Milwaukee. We've got the Miami Marlins and the New York Yankees. This is a 6 p.m. Eastern first pitch. Luzardo versus Cortez. We've got the Yankees minus 150, 55 home favorites, 8.5, 8 the total, depending on where you look. I know I like the Marlins early here. I like the Marlins first 5 for sure. Nestor Cortez hasn't been great. 7 runs in his first 2 starts to begin the season. I know Miami has had just a dreadful start to the season, although they finally, over the weekend, pick up their first win of the season against the St. Louis Cardinals in the finale of that series, 10-3. At least they come into this series with something positive. You know, they get that first win under their belt, and maybe they can at least compete here with the Yankees. Compete early. I don't know about compete for the whole game because that bullpen for Miami is another bullpen that's not very good. So that's why I think I favor the Marlins a little bit early in this game. Luzardo is someone I have backed in the past. He's made 2 starts already this year. Pretty solid in both. 2 runs in 5 innings to the Pirates. 3 runs in 5.1 innings. Like, not terrible, but not great, but not terrible either. Now, the Marlins lost both starts because they didn't give him any run support, especially in the one. But again, Cortez has not gotten off to great starts. He hasn't been great in his first 2 starts. I think Miami here with the first 5 innings is what I'm looking at a plus price. Maybe the first 5 over as well, simply because of the struggles of Cortez for the Yankees early in games. But that would be the approach here. Maybe a split first 5 full game over with this total being where it is, because even if Luzardo pitches well, it would just be so typical Miami for this wretched bullpen to give up, late runs to this New York Yankees lineup, which of course is pretty formidable this season. So that's the approach for me. Maybe a first 5 full game over split. And from a side perspective, I like the Marlins, but I only like them early. I want nothing to do with this bullpen. First 5 plus price for me, Miami. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, I don't think these teams are where they, I don't think the Yankees are, 8-2 and, came out red hot. I don't think the Marlins are bad as 1-9, but it's going to be rough, I think, for the Marlins all year. They don't have much of a staff as starters go. Luzardo needs to be good here. Not that he was awful early on. He's really been able, starting last year, to depend on him, backing him, betting him a little bit, because he was untrustworthy and a little bit wild, and still can be when he was young. So it's just tough. I think this price should be bigger, though, a little bit than the Marlins. So it's saying something. I get it. I don't want my money on the Marlins. And maybe this is the right time. Take them first 5. Cortez just, we kind of got to touch on it because it's the beginning of the year. A lot of these pitchers just aren't, in a groove, take spring training, they get around, and everybody's different. Some come out red hot, pitching well. So this was one I didn't have a ton on. I think you could go props in this game. One that's crazy to me, Luis Arraez here in the 1 hole, Bobano, is over 1.5 bases, plus 155. Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy number. He had 4 hits finally his last game, a little slow to come out. Yeah. But, obviously last year, for most of the year, it's hitting 400. That whole chase, it ended. But
the batting crown, for crying out loud. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This guy is unbelievable. And there's 1.5, would be minus 110, right around that number. So I thought there's great value, and I love that. And he's 2 for 4 off Nestor with the double. That's all you need is 1 double in this one, couple singles. So I am on that. Sure.
I like it. That's really good. And a great price, plus 155 too with that. All right, Brewers and Reds, a little NL Central battle here. Even money, minus 110, both sides. We've got Ash Kraft versus Ash B here in this matchup. 9.5 the total here in this game. The Brewers are one of those teams, and we saw it on display yesterday. I think they're going to be a pretty good over team this year as far as totals. Their lineup is capable. in my opinion, but I think there's a lot of holes in their rotation, maybe more than ever before. And I don't know if their bullpen's nearly as dominant, as it's been in years past. And certainly Cincinnati, I trust the lineup a little bit more than I do their pitching, 1 through 5. With they're trotting out, other than Hunter Green, who's got obviously terrific stuff. Ashcraft's serviceable, but then you got Andrew Abbott, who's still a work in progress, and then you got a reclamation projects and Frankie Montas and Nick Martinez. I mean, it's just not exactly a who's who of great starters for the Reds either. So, my initial thought here was lean to the over. No, we'll see what Ashby does here in this game because, again, he has not started yet this year. They had to push his first start back a little bit. We'll see how the lefty fares in this matchup. Worth noting, by the way, for the Reds that the batting average as a team against lefties hasn't been great so far, 238. Meanwhile, you look at Milwaukee as they face Ashcraft here. Milwaukee has done very well against righties, but I do like Ashcraft a little bit. I think he's capable. He had a solid first start against Philly. 2 earned runs, 4 hits, 6 innings. They lost 9-4, but typical of these teams with bad bullpens, the starter pitches okay, and Ashcraft did against Philadelphia, and then the bullpen blows it, later in the game, and they lose 9-4. So, this might be one where the Reds' first 5, I might get there with the Reds first. The only concern is the Reds have been pretty porous against lefties, and the Brewers have been pretty good against righties. So the splits tell you Milwaukee has the edge. But I think right now I like Ashcraft a little more than Ashby from a starting pitching matchup. So nothing strong, but I lean to Reds first 5, if anything, here. What do you think, C-Mac, with Brewers Reds?
Yeah, the struggles a little bit of the Reds just have been there, kind of been hot and cold. I like coming off a game where they just scored a 1 run, right?
Yep.
Yesterday, the day before against the Mets.
Yep.
And at home, no travel. I kind of like them to score runs in this one. So the difficult thing is just the Reds here, like you mentioned early, minus 110, 105, or go the team total just in case Ashcraft gives up runs. So I'm a little bit torn. I'm kind of leaning the team total, but I haven't bet it yet. He's been a guy that's been really, really good or gotten shelled. Bobano, it's just kind of in the middle and still in the end of the year. And yet last year he should have had more wins than he did. He went 7-9, but so many games he got the no decision last year. I think he had 26, 27 starts, so it was pretty tough for him. I think he can do well here, but I don't trust him enough early on. Ashby, let's get to him. He hasn't started in 2 years. Recall from AAA. This is a guy I don't trust, and I think they can get to him. That's why I talked about the Reds team total in this one. Dale Cruz, Ellie, he's been struggling here. This was a small bet for me. I put a little on his homer. We'll get to it. But I think he's due. And a price like this, I think is crazy with a guy like that. And one other is Steer the Deer. I think you got to look at his RBI.
Basis props with that guy. He's feeling it right now.
He's feeling it right now. Yep. And he hits lefties. I want these situations, and they're not going to cash, but throughout the year, we'll get through a couple down through the games where, these guys eat lefties. And I think you got to be on it, especially he's going to be in maybe the 5 or 6 hole. Is the lineup out by chance too? Already?
I'm going to double check.
Oh, he's in the 2 hole. Okay. I thought they've moved him up. Dalen Cruz in the 6 hole. He's right behind India. Still, I think his total bases plus 125, the ribby plus 175, and a little bit the home run is 5-1. I think you got to take just red hot. These are guys I kind of like to take him last year. I was a little bit more with McLean, but he's out with the shoulder, the second baseman. But I think Steer here can get it done.
Steer us to the win column, Spencer. Hopefully we can do that tonight with the props. I agree. Total bases and home run because he's left yard, especially in that ballpark a couple of times already. Great American. So I definitely think the home run prop is worth a look too on Spencer Steer in that one. All right, Detroit-Pittsburgh. We've got the Pirates minus 130 home favorites in this game. Total sitting at 8 across the board. I mean, the Pirates are doing what they did last year. This red-hot start, 8-2. How about that for the Pittsburgh Pirates? If you saw the ending to that Orioles-Pirates game yesterday, holy, what a crazy ending. It looked like Baltimore was going to win, and what a terrible throwing error by Gunnar Henderson, of all people. And it ends up being a Pirates win 3-2 in that game. He'll send Mitch Keller on the mound. Mitch Keller, who had a pretty decent season last year for the Pirates, but has not gotten off to a good start this season. 2 starts for Keller, Miami and Washington. How about 10 runs, 15 hits allowed in just 11 innings of work? That's not good. 8 runs, 10 runs, 15 hits in just 11 innings. That's not good so far from Mitch Keller, a guy that they expected, to be one of their more reliable starters. I'm a big fan of Reese Olson. I backed Reese Olson a bunch of times last year for Detroit. He pitched pretty well. He got off to a good start this year. First, now the Mets aren't the greatest lineup. They've been ice cold to start the year. I get it. But still, 3-hit shutout ball in 5.2 innings for Olson in that game. He's now won his last 4 starts going back to the end of last year. I think we have a live underdog here. I get it. Pittsburgh is good, 8-2. They're off to a great start, but come on. We know they're going to level off at some point. We know they got off to a red-hot start last year, the Pirates, and then they fell apart later in the season. I'm not saying that's going to happen this year because I truly believe Shelton's team, Derek Shelton's team, is better this year. I do. And I have Pittsburgh over their win total, so I'm happy with the way they've started. But they're not going to win every game. I like what Olson's done here for the Tigers. I think there's a chance they can win this game, and I don't think they're going to be thrilled with the way they ended the series against Oakland over the weekend either. Yeah. So I like Detroit here. I think it's worth a shot. First 5 full game split here. What do you think, Connor? Detroit, Pittsburgh.
I agree with you here a little bit. I don't mind the Tigers. One of my favorite looks the last couple of years, trying to catch them first 5, at a dog price. Same thing with Olson. His stuff isn't great, I don't think. We'll see if he can really step forward. That first start was good, but how was that? Just the Mets bats.
Yes.
Just so ice cold. Right. They were horrible. That was a great under. That kind of the whole series was with the Tigers Mets. And Mitch, what's going on with Mitch Keller? There's just no way at a favorite, even with the Pirates red hot right now, the bats swinging it well. Hayes, Reynolds, my guys ripping it up. Right now, I can't back him. He's just not been the same guy. We saw it towards the end of last year, where it just is something wrong with him. I mean, they're saying no. So even with Pirates coming out hot, I don't want to back them as a favorite. I don't know about this total. It seems like these guys pitch well. Again, maybe Keller finally has a good start, but I can't take it. I don't want anything on the total either.
Yeah, for me, I'm lukewarm on the total. I'll just stick with a shot here on Detroit here. First 5 full game at plus money, and you definitely want a part of it on the first 5. Tigers are another team with a bullpen that sometimes is not always reliable. Yeah,
they've had some stretches very good the last couple of years, but they've had some kind of shitty stretches too.
No doubt. Classic. So definitely keep an eye on that. All right, next up. Seattle Mariners, Toronto Blue Jays. It's finally the home opener, by the way, for the Blue Jays. Started the season on the road, 3 straight series, Tampa, Houston, and New York, and against the Yankees. Now they're finally home, Rogers Center, the renovated Rogers Center for this home opener tonight.
How renovated is it?
You can't really tell when you look at all the images that are floating around, but you can tell that it's really the dimensions in the outfield. And you can tell because they used to have that monster blue wall, there, and it looked so old and it didn't look like a traditional ballpark. Now they've lowered the fence, in the outfield.
Nice, yeah.
And now it looks more. Now the bullpens are right next to where the fans are. It looks like a more modern ballpark now. It looks more like a ballpark and less like a stadium. Now was how I would say it. It looks more like a ballpark now.
I'm glad they did it. It was getting old.
Yeah, it is. They had to. Well, it's been 1989 is when it opened, so it's been around for 35 years. So definitely it needed and 1989 it was like state of the art. It was ahead of its time. It was the first ever retractable roof stadium in North America. Yeah. Sky Dome. Its original.
That was a big one. I mean, and Camden Yards was huge. A couple of years later, and even Rockies, Mile High.
Yeah, but you're right. Like all things, if you go 30 years like they have without really, upgrading anything, of course it's going to get all broken down and a little decrepit. So it needed a little upgrade. So that's done. That's why the home schedule was delayed so that they could finish the renovations. But now it's ready to go as they welcome in the Mariners. We've got Barrios for the Blue Jays, Luis Castillo. Now, Luis Castillo, in theory, is supposed to be the ace for this Seattle team. he has not pitched like it here in the early going. I mean, it's been a struggle here for Luis Castillo. He comes into this game tonight against the Jays, giving up 8 runs, 16 hits in his first 2 starts against the Red Sox and the Guardians. Oh my gosh, it's not what you want to see at all. Going back to last September, he's now lost 4 straight starts, and in his last 4 starts, he has given up 17 runs in just 15 innings. So he's allowing more runs than innings pitched in his last 4 starts going back to last year. So you couple that with a Seattle team that, offensively it's been hit or miss for them. They've lost 4 or 5. I think for the Blue Jays, this might they haven't had a good start to the year either. But you have to remember, it's been a brutal schedule. Rays, Astros, Yankees. I mean, that's pretty tough. That's 3 road series they're all capable, good teams. Now you come home, Seattle's scuffling. They got a pitcher that's struggling. Barrios has probably been the best starter. The Blue Jays haven't had many good starters so far this year. Barrios has been their best. I think situationally, they're going to be amped up. Home opener, the place will be packed. I think situationally, matchup-wise, it's probably a good Jays spot here. So for me, it's Toronto or nothing in this game. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, I just was going to click on it here. I wanted to double check. Yeah, he's been normally better because I always think of that at home than on the road. But those first 2 road starts were great for Barrios. I don't trust him. I just don't trust. This seems like, wow, he's come out 2 great starts, Tampa and Houston, and he's going to come home here and just kind of shit the bed and get lit up. That's why I can't back him at all. But on the flip side, I don't really want the Mariners. It seems like this would be another price. I thought they were overpriced to start the year, but man, even early on in the Red Sox series, a lot of love, even the odds makers for the Mariners. Yeah, Castillo. One thing with him, we all know how good of stuff he has, but you mentioned it just hasn't been the same. And what the biggest is the long ball. The 3-run homer, the 2-run, it's just been killing it. Dating back to last year. And already this year, there's just kind of been a big blow to him. So, and really, we got a 1 bad inning as well with those. So, tough to trust in this one. You know what? I take the Mariners. So I had a free bet. I kind of fade the Blue Jays coming home here.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough game. I know situationally, I like how it sets up for the Jays, but you're right. The bats have to wake up too. Let's not forget that Barrios could pitch well, but if you don't hit the ball, you're going to be in trouble. And again, this Blue Jays offense, a little bit of a concern already early in the season.
They got the guy. They got to get going a little bit. Even the first 4 or 5 games, I think they'll be all right. But some guys have decent numbers, not a ton of at bats. But Springer, Bichette, Turner in the 4-hole. He's got, I don't know, he's 3 for 9, I think, with a homer. So a few guys there for the Jays if you want to look at.
All right, Mets and Braves now. We've got Tehran and Morton, and I can see why the total's been bet up when I see those 2 names. 9.5 up to 10 here in this game, minus 225 home favorite. I don't trust either pitcher, quite honestly. And Charlie Morton, I've always had kind of this anti-stance on him. He was good in his first start against the White Sox. How much do you put into that with the White Sox lineup being a bit of an issue? Tehran pitched well against the in his first actually, no, he hasn't pitched yet this year. My apologies. His first start tonight. But Morton was good in his first start, but there's still that level of can he keep this going? Can he have another really good year? An aging pitcher at the down toward the end of his career. That remains to be seen. What I know about Atlanta is this lineup is just so dangerous, lethal 1 through 9. Other than the loss to the White Sox was with Crochet on the mound, who's their best pitcher. The weather was miserable that day in Chicago. I remember it when they lost 3-2 to the White Sox. Other than that, look what this Braves lineup has done. 9 runs, 12 runs, 4 runs, 9 runs, 6 runs, 9 runs, 5 runs. I mean, they have just been destroying opposing pitchers. So whether you want to go with Atlanta team total, whether you want to go with first 5 over, full game over split, overs for Atlanta in particular, because I think they can do some damage against Tehran, and we know the Mets bullpen is not that great. But I think the Mets can score a little bit. The Mets offense is always the tricky part of the equation, so that's why I'd probably want a little Atlanta team total as well. But if the Mets can at least get some damage done here and put some production and runs on the board against Morton, I think the game could be an over in the first 5 and maybe even an over in the full game. I certainly lean that way because I think we could see runs tonight. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I think we could see some runs in this one. I lean that way. What do we get from Tayron coming back to his old team here with the Braves? I don't trust him. It seems like from whatever thing I looked at, he's 75 pitch count here. Maybe he goes 4 innings, and the Braves jump on him. He could be out quicker than that.
Yeah.
Braves here. I think at times I don't always, and the numbers get bigger. So if you don't, the team total that wise with juice, you get the one less at bat. But when you have teams sometimes like the Dodgers and the Braves, I don't think that matters. The home team run line, I would just roll that way with Atlanta. I think Morton can be all right. He just keeps going out there. All the shit he gets too. Good old Chuck. A lot of haters. But yeah, he's classic 4 guy, and he's gonna have to step up, with the injuries to Strider and what's going on with Fried. The Braves are probably gonna have to beat teams here, especially the first half, scoring a ton of runs. And a few guys eat him up. Ozuna has great numbers. Darren, I think he's like hitting over 400, 4 homers. So look to him prop wise.
All right, I like it. That's another prop look of yours that I think is pretty good and well worth a look. All right, next up we continue along Dodgers and Twins. The lefty, James Paxton, Reclamation Project Supreme here for the Dodgers up against Bailey Ober. For the Twins, we've got the Dodgers here about a minus, it looks like 125 road favorite here in Minnesota, 8.5 the total in this one. You look at James Paxton, obviously this is a bit of a leap of faith, a bit of a gamble here, no pun intended, by the Dodgers with Paxton here, trying to see what he's got. Well, his first start was solid. Now, he did get some walk issues. Control and command was a little off. He had 5 walks against the Giants, but he did strike out 5. He only gave up 4 hits, and more importantly, didn't give up a run in 5 innings against San Francisco in his first start. So we'll see if that's a sign of him maybe getting in a good situation. What the fuck happened to Bailey Ober in his first start? The Kansas City Royals just teed off on him. 8 runs, 9 hits, didn't get out of the second inning in an 11-0 beatdown by the Kansas City Royals. So after a start like that, I'm going to need to see it from Bailey Ober, especially against, on paper, one of the best lineups in baseball, before I'm ready to trust him. Albeit a Dodgers lineup that, for the first time this year, really held down. And believe it or not, 2 games in a row after going over their team total every game this season. 2 games in a row, they've been held under 4.5 runs. The Dodgers under their team total, but this kind of feels like a nice little bounce back spot for them. The question is, what do you get from Paxton? I think I like the Dodgers team total over here. I'll get back on the saddle with it and probably split it with the full game over because I don't fully trust Paxton yet. I don't. And I think the Twins might be able to get a few off him. Remember, he's not in Dodgers or out in the West Coast anymore. Now he's at Target Field, a little bit more hitter friendly. We'll see, but I lean to we'll probably play it with a Dodgers team total over and split it with a full game over tonight with Dodgers and Twins. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, what Paxton do we get here on the road? Dating back to when he was pitching well, he's very good. I think we saw that in glimpses last year, where he was very, very good. Kind of wore down a little bit, but he still was 7.5 ERA in the 4s. I think he could do that kind of all year here for the Dodgers. And Bailey Ober surprised me how well he pitched last year. Can this guy stay his ERA right in the 3s?
He's been around long enough that when we were doing the MLB show, we always called him
Bailey Ober. Yeah. It's I don't love him here. This seems like all right. Dodgers. So the first loss with the Dodgers team total finally happened. I didn't like yesterday. I love the Cubs. I love that spot for him. And it was huge. So I was off, but I think you got to be right back on it here with Ober. I know it's the next day. Cubs to Minnesota, Chicago to Minnesota. It's not a crazy thing. And the bats kind of just went cold. It's going to happen. But we get 4 or 5 runs just to inning with this lineup and get back. I haven't been on many days. One thing with Mookie, he cools. Sometimes he cools to stay off of him. But I'd be right back, with Freddie Freeman. It's been a few days, 3 games since I've been on him. I think you look to him. He's over 1.5 or his RBI too.
All right, next up, Phillies and Cardinals. We've got Spencer Turnbull for the Phillies, former Tiger, now with the Philadelphia Phillies. Miles Michaelis for St. Louis. We've got St. Louis minus 115, minus 120 home favorites, 9 the total, shaded to the under. I like the Phillies here. I think Turnbull's just the better pitcher, quite honestly. 7 strikeouts, very good start for him in his debut with the Phillies against Cincinnati. I don't trust Michaelis. Okay, he was a little better against San Diego, but he got pummeled by the Dodgers, albeit Dodgers have a good lineup. I just don't think he deserves, this kind of a price, especially with what we saw last year. He was a disaster. He's an older guy. And I think Spencer Turnbull's the better arm. So I like Phillies first 5 full game split, maybe even a Phillies team total, because I think they could do some damage here against the struggling older starter for the Cardinals and Miles Michaelis. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, this for me, Phillies. And this one I lean over in this one because I think Turnbull could get hit too. So this is one I think I'm going to be on both. Phillies too, the last couple of years, own the Cardinals. I know they won the last one in September, but beat them 7 of 8.
Yep.
They kind of just own them. This price seems cheap. And a lot of Michaelis has gotten ripped. Harper, his homer's only like plus 250, but his ribby is plus 125. He's got great numbers. I had Alec Bohm the other night. Who was he off? Corbin. But he was 11 for 22, 2 homers. Didn't come through. He had a couple walks, but 6 for 9 here. 2 doubles and a homer. How can you not? And the number's huge. Like the RBI's plus 180, 185. The homers, 600. I think you got to take him, especially if he's in the 4-hole.
Yeah.
So the lineup's out. I think he's a must take in this one.
Yeah, people are sleeping on that guy. People talk about Harper and fucking Schwarber and Turner and, some of these other Phillies hitters, but people sleep on Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm is capable, and I've cashed a couple props with him already this year, Alec Bohm. So, no doubt.
Yeah, I'll be back on this one. I love it, especially in the 4-5 hole right there. And I think he's going to get a lot of ribbies and put a little on the homer. Hasn't hit a jack yet. So, have a little on that tonight.
But he might be due, and the matchup works because Michaelis gave up 10 runs in 12 innings against the Phillies in his last 2 starts against them last year. Not good, obviously. All right, Battle of Texas. We've got the Rangers and Astros. The Rangers minus 120, home favorites, 9.5, 10 the total. I went against the grain. Like Houston struggled badly. Texas crushed them in the first 2 games, but I figured they got that guy that had the no-hitter against Toronto starting for them last night, Ronel Blanco. I said it's the right time to step in and back the Astros last night, and I was rewarded. They got the win against Texas, but I don't know if that means I want to come back to them necessarily here tonight. Framber Valdez, capable when he's on. Heaney, I don't know what we're going to get. Total's high. This is a tricky total for me. Because, Houston's offense has been sputtering. Let's put it that way to begin the year. They have not been clicking like we thought they might. What are we going to get from the 2 pitchers is a big question. Valdez, we'll have to wait and see with him. Andrew Heaney, by the way, 1.93 ERA for him so far this season. So better than expected. It's a pretty high total for 2 offenses that haven't always been clicking. I mean, Texas, 4 of their last 5 games have stayed under. Houston, I think they're 7-2 to the under to begin the season. So I actually stayed off this game. Don't have a whole lot here. How about you, C-Mac, this battle in Texas?
This is tough. The numbers look good here for both the lineups, I think, kind of to break out because they both have very good ones against these pitchers. And I don't want, I think too, you look to the Astros. The game the other day, the first game of the series, Rangers were against Brown were plus 130, kind of head scratching, playing the better baseball, defending champs, and they were dogs, at home. I just thought that game should have been more of a pick'em. I thought there's a ton of value. I got to be on the Astros here. I think we do get runs. I lean over in this game, Bobano, I think. And they can be very disappointing, like you mentioned, these teams. But now it's flipped to this price a little bit. And all the love's here to Texas. But I still lean the Stros now getting plus 115.
All right, Arizona, Colorado. Gallen and Freeland. We've got Arizona minus 170, road favorites, 10.5 the total in this game. I like Zach Gallen, but I like him more at Chase Field. And we know last year, Homey was awesome and Rhodey was a little more vulnerable. And when you look at the way he pitched against Colorado last year, both of the starts were dominant, but they were also in Arizona, including March 28th, early this season. 1 run, 3 hits, 5 innings for Gallen. But in Colorado, we'll see how he fares. I know I don't want to trust Freeland. I know that. Freeland's been just, oh my goodness. Talk about a bad start. Arizona and the Cubs, 28 runs scored by the teams combined in those 2 games. 10 runs in 2.1 innings Freeland gave up to the Diamondbacks, 7 runs in 3.1 innings to the Cubs. So you talk about a horrible start to the season for Freeland. I kind of want to back Gallen here in some form, but there is that noticeable long-term historical home-road dichotomy and split that this guy has. So that might keep me off it, but I know I don't want Freeland in the Rockies. Maybe Arizona team total over to be safe. So you take Gallen out of the equation. You don't have to worry about how he pitches. Focus on Arizona getting the runs they need against a struggling Kyle Freeland. So maybe a Diamondbacks team total over is the best way to bet this one. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, last year, Gallen, because the year before that, his ERA was basically the same, home and away, and a little bit higher in the 4s, kind of blipped there second half of the year. And he's been pretty good in Colorado when I was going through all his starts today.
Good point.
Too bad. Yeah, he's been
here. Yeah.
Yeah, hasn't gotten shelled. And Freeland, he's had some good starts, and he's gotten hit hard here by the D-backs. And a few guys, Marte just owns him. Christian Walker, great numbers. My guy Christian Walker always comes through. It seems like when I back him on the props, great numbers. But Gurriel, I think you want to look at here, better price. 4 for 9 with a homer. The 1.5, you're not getting bargains on total bases too much. It's at a plus price, which you normally get. So I just don't really mess with those. But you got to put a little bit on his jack. Yeah. Over 5 to 1. Come on here. With those numbers in the 3-hole. So I think you put a little bit on him. And you mentioned what's the price on the 5.5 has to be juice, right? Arizona's team total.
Yeah.
Here, let me look it up real quick. Team total game props. Lost Bobano. Okay, where we at? 5.5 minus 135. So that's a little bit too much juice that I want to mess with.
Minus 145. Minus 145 with that team total. So it is juice.
Yeah, I just had to find it. But if you don't mind that, I think they get there. Rockies, I want to look to, just not here. I want to look them at home first 5 as big dogs. Not with Freeland the way he looks right now. Yeah, so I had to stay off there.
All right, we got 3 games left. Rays and Angels. Eflin and Anderson here in this game. We've got the Rays minus 135 to minus 145, actually. Road favorites, 8.5 being the total in this game. Tyler Anderson for the Angels. He's been around the block. There's no question. Zach Eflin, what do we make of him? This was a guy that was the opening day starter for the Rays this season. Now, there's some pitching injuries that led to that, but nevertheless, they expect big things out of him. He had a solid year last year and a brutal first start against Toronto. He did bounce back, though, against Texas. Much better. 1 run, 5 hits, 6.1 innings. But I remember last year we had a little home road thing with Eflin, too. Eflin was great at the Tropicana Field. On the road, he was a little more hittable. So what are we going to see from him here against the LA Angels, who, obviously this year, this is a lineup now. Doesn't have Ohtani anymore. It's a little more patchwork. They've gotten off to actually a decent 5-4 start this year, and that was despite a pretty rough start to the season in Baltimore for them. So they've bounced back. They swept Miami. They did lose 2 or 3 to Boston, but one of those games was competitive, and they've hit the ball a little bit better. If you actually look going back to the end of the Baltimore series, they have scored at least 4 runs in all but in 5 of their last 8 games. So the offense has been a little bit better. Eflin is capable of shutting them down, but I do worry about how on the road he's been a little more susceptible. So if I were to bet anything here, maybe I take a shot on an over 8.5 here. Rays and Angels. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, the way the Angels, it's just from game to game hasn't been great, the offense. And we'll see, because the other way, I like the first 5 under 4.5 in this one. But and I've been just looking at it all day long. Haven't bet this one because we always talk about Eflin on the road.
Yep.
And was better last year right? I remember his numbers a little bit better. Yeah, he was a 3.7. Compared to 2 years ago where it was over 6 on the road. But I don't trust the Angels from game to game. The bats and the other thing is Anderson. I don't really trust him too much with the Rays here. For some reason, he looked very good against the Marlins, who were just anemic. He couldn't do anything that first week. He just shut them down. But I think he's all right too. So this one for me, I'm looking early under here, 4.5.
This is an interesting one next. Cubs and Padres. You've got Yu Darvish and the Padres minus 140. Home favorites at Petco, 7.5 the total. I really like what I saw from the Cubs over the weekend. I kind of think Javier Assad is a bet on pitcher, and I'm tempted to take the plus money with the Cubs here. But what I don't like is this ridiculously situation yesterday where it was a long-ass delay. They had to finish the game later. Now you got to fly out to the West Coast and play without a day off. That is such a bad scheduling, travel, situational spot for the Cubs to be in that it might keep me off this game. But I kind of want to take Assad and the Red Hot Cubs, who I think are a better team right now than San Diego. But the schedule thing does bother me a bit. And I don't trust Darvish. I know he was pretty solid in his first start. I still don't fully trust him. I like Assad. I think he's a bet-on pitcher. He was great in his first start. But again, the scheduling issue and that long-ass delay against the Dodgers yesterday at Wrigley, now having to fly to the West Coast, that bothers me, C-Mac. Otherwise, I would really be on the Cubs here. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Assad. I don't like the travel here, too. This is weird. This is a full game, 7.5. But you can find 4.5s. Obviously, juice minus 130.
First five under, sluggish too. Off the travel too, little sluggish. Yeah. I can see it. Slow start.
So the 4.5s are just a little bit more juice, but that's what I was looking to. And the Cubs first 5. I had yesterday was the big game I thought for them. They get the win, and none of these guys have great numbers off Darvish. I think he'll be pretty good at home. I just could see one of them maybe getting touched up a little bit. But first 5 under here for me, and Cubs, I lean them a little bit.
All right, final MLB game for this Monday night, Nationals and Giants. Trevor Williams for the Nats. Blake Snell, new addition to the San Francisco Giants, of course, this year, the lefty for the San Francisco. The Giants are minus 210 home favorites, 7.5 being the total in this game. Blake Snell, it's always interesting to see what he delivers. He still got great swing and miss stuff. No problem for him down the stretch last year. He pitched very well in the month of September, of course, with his former team, the Padres. We'll see how he fares here now with the Giants. This will be his first start this year with the Giants, his new team. He'll be looking to make a big impression. And in theory, this is a lineup he could dominate. It's not like the Nats have been consistently swinging the baseball. Trevor Williams for them. First start of the year against Pittsburgh, 2 runs, 3 hits, 5.1 innings. Feels like I stare at the same fucking box score stats every start for Trevor Williams. It's like 3-4 runs and like 6 innings, and it's over and over and over again. He's never going to completely shut you down, but sometimes he'll be just good enough not to get completely rocked. That's Trevor Williams in a nutshell right there. So I passed this game. I don't have anything, but I'm not really rushing to back Washington, I'll tell you that. Travel. And Snell will be pumped to make the first Giants start tonight at home in the Bay. What do you think here?
Yeah, he will be. But I don't think they should be this price. That's the kind of the lone thing. You mentioned you got to take Williams, a guy I've had success with. That seems like back. I don't know what it is. And the Nats, first 5. And that's really all I could look at them is first 5. I'm tempted. I want to go through this a little more. Snell's so good, but a few walks. This is early on in the year. Maybe the Nats could scratch off a few runs. So I was looking at them first 5 at this price. I just don't want the Giants. Might be a little bit better. And they have some good numbers off Williams. As Soler, Conforto, some of these guys, Chapman. But yeah, no way I could be on the Giants even with Snell. Maybe Blake Snell. I don't know what his what's his K prop.
It's probably worth a look. You know what? And the one thing that gives me confidence with his K prop is that you listen to anyone on the Giants right now, they're telling you he looked great in the spring.
He's sharp, yeah.
Yeah, they all think that he's ready to go. They just, skipped his first start just to make sure he's fully ready, got that arm totally worked out, and warmed up and stretched out. They feel really good about him going into this first start. Now, that doesn't guarantee he's going to be dominant, but at least they think he's going to be pretty good. It's over 6.5 minus 115 for his K prop.
Yeah, I wonder how deep he goes. The only thing's kind of that with the first start, but I don't think it's too bad there. You might get that.
Yeah, no question. And like I said, they're all saying the same thing right now. Bob Melvin, the new manager, and it was had a great quote the other day saying, "We think he was great in the spring. We think he's ready. He's ready to go and ready to be at his best form." So we'll see if he can be in his best form here tonight for the San Francisco Giants. All right, we'll see who's in their best form with all the marbles and everything on the line in college basketball tonight. It is the national championship game, Purdue and UConn. Huskies currently 7, even some 7.5s, believe it or not, starting to show up. Favorites in this game, 144.5, the total in Phoenix, of course, neutral court. I'm not going to overthink it or overcomplicate it. We have seen a distinct pattern with UConn, especially the last couple of games that they've played. The last 3 games, really, San Diego State, Illinois, and then, of course, against Alabama over the weekend, where in the first half, that's where teams are hanging around with them. And then it's the second half, things kind of get away. UConn makes their adjustments. UConn digs in defensively, and they are just so loaded, whether it's Spencer and Newton, whether it's Caravan, whether it's, of course, Klingon inside. Just absolutely, there's no let up in what and how many different players can score for them, how many players can defend for them, can rebound for them, and it's just relentless for 40 minutes, and they wear teams down. They've done it over and over and over again. They just take your will away. They crush your spirit. They crush your will in the second half. That's what UConn has done over and over again. Even against Alabama, it was a little more difficult to do that to Alabama, but they still did, and they still got the cover. It was close, but they still got the point spread cover against Alabama on Saturday. Easy decision for me, Connor. I like Purdue first half. To me, that's the safe way to approach this because I do think Purdue, look, Klingon and Edey is going to be a great matchup. There's no question about that. But I think we're sleeping on how good Purdue defensively has been as this tournament's gone on. It's been better and better and better. And one thing to point out about the NC State game, they shot the ball horribly. They turned the ball over a lot. And they still, with their defense, thanks to how good it was against NC State, they still won that game in blowout fashion. Braden Smith was terrible shooting the basketball. You got to think he's got a better game in him for Purdue, in this game. And I think he will, which goes to a couple of props I like. I'm taking a shot with Braden Smith over points for Purdue. And I took like a big price on him, like 30-1 or something for him to be the leading scorer in the basketball game. Because we know he can get red hot from 3-point range. And I think I like the buy low element of this, where he had probably one of the worst games he'll have against NC State. And I think he'll play a lot better. He'll shoot the ball, a lot better tonight for Purdue in this game. So, yeah, I like Purdue first half. We'll be on the stream tonight, Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you join us. My goal is Purdue first half. Then on the live stream tonight at halftime, we'll probably bet UConn. At halftime. Look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the way it's been in this tournament. Bet the opponent first half the last few games against UConn, and then take UConn at halftime. If you've been using that approach, it's been going pretty well for you. So that's probably the way I'll go. I think the under, how can you bet overs right now in this venue? 2 easy unders, in the Final Four on Saturday. Both games easily stayed under the total. You won't be seeing me betting an over in this venue right now. What do you think here, C-Mac? National championship.
Yeah, I was just trying to pull this up. Yeah, I think even he could get it here with Newton. I was just starting to go over some of the props we'll hit on. I'll hit them in real quick. You mentioned Smith. He was up. The 2 guys, the only other guy I'd look at is Lawyer. And basically, they were kind of horrible from 2. Edey had 20. Lawyer hit 4 threes. And Jones, I think, had 4 threes, 4 or 5, because Smith was only 1 for 5, I think, 1 for 5 or 1 for 6.
Lance Jones ended up being like a savior for them.
Huge.
He had a really good game. He had their best shooting game probably.
Yeah, he was very good. Yeah. But you mentioned if Smith can just hit 1, because I think he could get a second one. It's at plus 150 over 1.5. I think you got to put a little something on that. And on the flip side is Newton. He's just such a good shooter. It's 2.5, but it's like plus 140. It seems like lately he's been getting 3 no matter what, and I think he puts it up. The tough part about the rest, even both teams and they've put up so high, is who's really going to take over? Like, they're so balanced. Like, is it going to be Caravan tonight? Kling and have more, Castle, Newton, Spencer. It's just so it's just tough to go off of points.
Don't sleep on him. If Stephon Castle out of nowhere having the big night for UConn against Alabama, it could be anybody. That's what's scary about them.
Yeah, just so good and balanced. And on the game here, the under. I think this was like 4 points too high. You know what I mean? It's already took a hit a little bit. One thing, hot shooting though, this could go over, Bobano. You know what I mean? If they get going or OT, but the way UConn plays, and if they dictate it, this is going under. It's just been that good. And even Bama, the second half of that game, they just finally kind of ran out of gas, ran out of hitting shots. They were just hitting shots for so long, which that's how we all said they got to hang with UConn, and they kind of did, because we knew UConn, they basically got what they wanted, and they didn't shoot it great, especially the first half, and we're still up by 4 in that game. Edey, Kling, the big guys, that's going to be a great watch down there. Can one of them get in foul trouble too? That'll be big, especially Edey. That's bad for Purdue. You know, if he gets a couple whistles, but it seems like he catches all the whistles. So UConn's got to watch that. But I think UConn in the end, sucks the air out of it. Definitely the under. And in the end, as much as I like Purdue and think they can hang, I just think UConn wins. I think they cover full game. You talked about first half maybe with Purdue, and if you're looking at the first half,
there are some fours.
Get the fours. That's just what I was going to say. Right now I see 2 or 3 fours out there. Get the 4. It's huge in these first halves, especially. Oh, of course, full game, but these points are so massive. It just a 2-point game, 1-3. It's just you want it. Believe me, you want it, especially in the first half. And there might be a big feeling out kind of in this game. Early on. I just went full game because I've seen UConn just kind of get the lead and bury it and play so well in the second half, where really the only thing that I think gets this over kind of would be just red hot shooting or maybe a weird OT in that regard. Because I look at this game, I kind of want to go first half, but I just think maybe if it goes, they just get hot. So I went full game on the under. I think we got a pretty good game. This is what we all wanted to see. Can one team? There's a lot of pressure though to go back to back. Purdue's got to be feeling good after getting dropped. Both these teams, Bobano, have covered every game. ATS. They've just ran through the competition, so it's not easy to pick a side. And I see arguments for both. Both are so good, efficient on offense. I talk about how great UConn is, but so is Purdue. But I think UConn just has that defense. Not that Purdue's awful, because I've seen them at times get gashed a little bit during the year. UConn's just kind of even gone to another level in the conference tourney, and now in this one. And we all know, one last thing, the Big Ten in title games, and it's just been awful for them. And I think the best team in the country wins, and that's UConn. And, to start, before I went in, when you get your bracket and everything, Bobano, I'm thinking, where can maybe UConn slip up? They're going to do it. But I kept looking at it and going, I think they're the best team in the country. Yeah. Like every time I kept wanting to, to back another team or even filling out the bracket, I just kept going, they're going to win, every matchup. So that's how I feel here. I think they win back to back.
Yeah, I agree. UConn, to me, from a straight up standpoint, I think they're winning, and that's why I only want Purdue in the first half. I don't want to be holding plus 7.5 with Purdue and sweating that, or worry that UConn turns it into a double-digit lead at any point in the second half. So that's why it's first half for me, and I'll bet UConn live at halftime. That's my exact approach for this game when it's all said and done. Yep.
Real quick, we were seeing a few 7.5s. Now we're seeing back to a little bit more 6.5s than 7s. It's weird to take the argument for Purdue because of these points and how well this team's been. But how do you go off UConn that's covered 13 last year, all against 11 straight by double digits?
That's right.
It's kind of like it's not one you could just. So that's only the part here. So kind of arguing that it's like. They cover. It's not like they've won a couple games.
They cover full games. First half's not nearly as much. That's why I like.
But even the first half, they've been good. Yep. You know what I mean? They didn't cover, but they pushed against Illinois. You're right. And that one, God, they should have. Illinois should have covered that first half.
Yes.
And then barely got by San Diego State. But man, I can't wait for it. Should be a great game. And
again,
we'll be there live with you.
Yeah, check us out, Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. We'll be on a ton of other people too, Dutch and Dave picks from Dave and Mike M, and of course Jimmy the Bag anchoring things. And yeah, it's going to be a heck of a turnout, no doubt, for the live stream tonight during the national championship game. Looking forward to that. Great show, Connor. Let's wrap it up. We got best bets. Whatever you want for best bet, from the baseball card, from the championship game, wherever you want to go for best bet, take it away.
Let's get it. We mentioned the basketball. That's the under. Let's go to the diamond here. There's a few. We mentioned Phillies, a few others. I'm going back to this, but man, I mean, I think it's great. Cubs, Padres, first 5 under 4.5. The best line I got was -125, but I want the hook here. Cubs, Padres under first 5.
There we go. A little zeros early in the game from Assad and Darvish in that game. Cubs and Padres under 4.5 for Connor Mack, his best bet. Mine is going to be, I'm going to go with the team total for the Phillies. They ripped Michaelis in the last 2 starts he made against them last year. Over 4, -125 at Caesars. So that's Philadelphia team total over 4, -125 at Caesars. I like it quite a bit. I like the money line too, but I figured let's go with the team total for best bet for this edition of Bet with Bobano. That's a wrap for the show. Appreciate it. You'll see both of us later tonight over on Pub Sports Radio for the National Championship stream, and we'll be back with you on Wednesday this week, 4 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of Bet with Bobano. C-Mac, did you have anything in the hockey tonight, NHL?
No. I was thinking here, which is crazy, but they're winning. Pittsburgh taking them. What did you take? Did you take them?
I'm on Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh and the team total split over 2.5.
God, I like it.
Yeah.
As well. I think I'm going to have some on it. How do you not here? I just got to do it. I love the momentum. It seems like a perfect spot for the Leafs to kind of shit it too. A classic Leafs form. The other game, I'm off. Vegas just beat them.
Too. Vegas, Vancouver. But I don't want to step in front of Vegas. Vegas got embarrassed in the third period against Arizona. I don't want to step in front of them here.
I don't want to step in front of them. Can Vancouver step up? I just don't think they're playing great hockey. They beat up on some bad teams. They just lost to Vegas 6-3.
Yep. It's
just kind of that one where it's like, good watch, maybe jump on something live, but I definitely didn't have anything there pregame.
There you go. There you have it. Great show. Hit the like button, everyone in the chat.
Real quick, Bobano. Yeah, everyone hit the like, because we'll be here regularly for the most part, Mondays and Wednesdays, and since the new channel, we'll start to kind of grow it.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to be doing more stuff on my own too. So, but we can start growing it and getting the word out,
And we'll do more than Mondays and Wednesdays once I'm done with the NBA stuff with the with Ski and the crew, and then we'll have Tuesdays and Thursdays available too once we get later into the spring and summer. So but for now, Mondays and Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Great stuff for Connor Mack. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Bet like Tony Soprano. Bet with Bobano. We'll see you again Wednesday for another edition of Bet with Bobano.